There are several ways to replace a floor joist without tearing up the floor. One method involves lifting the subfloor with jacks. A crowbar can be used to pry out the damaged joist. You can also place wood blocks between the sagging linoleum and joist to support them. If you don't have the right tools, you can use a reciprocating saw. If you can't remove the floor, you can replace the rotten floor joist under the bathtub. The rot will have to be removed first. This will expose the rotten joist beneath the floor. In this case, you will need to remove the existing subfloor and replace it with new aerated concrete. Then, you can replace the rotten joist by replacing it with a new one. You should mark the joist with accurate measurements. Otherwise, you'll have trouble fitting the new joist into the space you removed. You should also use a stud finder to locate rotten floor joists. This tool is inexpensive and easy to use. Make sure to wear protective gear and use a stud finder if you have one. This tool is a great investment and can save you a lot of time and money. Once you have the rotten joist out of the way, you can start the process of replacing it. If the joist is affected by rotting, you can replace it or repair the area. The new joist must fit the space you removed. If the joist was not repaired properly, the subfloor will need to be removed. A carpenter's level set can help you check the levelness of the floor. If the rotten floor joist is under the bathtub, you can check its condition by stepping into the bathtub and examining it closely. It will be easy to see if the bathtub is rotten and need to be replaced by a professional. If it's a rotten floor joist, it is essential to remove the subfloor and replace it with a new one. You may need to remove the floor joist by cutting it away from the floor joist. You may need to use pry bars or wedges to separate it from the walls and wires. Then, cut a notch on the flange of the I-joist. Once the joist is removed, it will need to be lifted. It should be raised to the level of the underlying floor. The next step in repairing a sagging floor joist is to remove the joist. You can do this by using a crowbar and hammer to open up the gap. If the sagging floor is caused by a rotten floor, use a handsaw or jigsaw to cut the circle. It is important to allow the joist time to dry before trying to replace it. To replace a floor joist without tearing out the floor, you can remove the damaged joist by lifting the joist from the floor. It is important to keep in mind that removing the floor will not result in a leveled flooring. You should allow for enough time to dry before you attempt this project. However, the process may be time-consuming if you don't know how to use a crowbar. To replace a floor joist without tearing out the floor, you need to remove the damaged joist and the floor joist frame. You should then double the existing framing with 2x6 lumber and use it as a subfloor with plywood. The new piece of lumber should span the same length as the old re-joist. You could also use the new stair tiling in the area between two new jittles. You can replace a floor joist without ripping the floor. You will need a reciprocating saw or a swinging saw to cut the joist from the subfloor. You will also need pry bars or a hammer to break open the gap between the floor linoleum and the floor joist. To make the repairs, you must use a hammer or a metal cutting blade to remove nails.